I'm Kisa Johnson Richards, Subject Specialist, Science, here at NSERD. And today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the enhanced science curriculum. Now, science is very important in everyday life. Science is all around us. Science is everything we do. And you can recall the names of our textbooks: Science Around Us for the primary level and Science in Daily Life for the secondary level. And so it is very important because as we look around us, we see science. Science explains a lot. Science is very important. It's all around us. Understanding the world of science helps us to live better. The other thing is that we're in a technologically advanced world. We talk about STEM, we talk about STEAM. And so when you look at that acronym, it begins with science. STEM begins with science, STEAM begins with science. And so if we're going in those paths, we have to first start with science. Our enhanced science curriculum is actually based on the next generation science standards. These were actually coined and reviewed in the United States of America. Now, one would want to know, why choose that standard? Now, they would have been carefully drafted and reviewed by a number of organizations in relation to science and technology and education. And so rather than invent the wheel, we would want to adopt those standards to our culture, and so that our learners or our children or our citizens will eventually be on par with developing countries. And even as they leave these shores for studying, they can be smoothly integrated into those education systems. And those standards are also used by a lot of countries in the Caribbean and around the world. And now the next generation science standards, they are actually interesting because they are three-dimensional. And when we talk about three-dimensional, they're distinct but interdependent on each other, so as to provide a coherent or a wholesome science education. Now, one dimension of the standards is what we call the disciplinary core ideas. These are actually the content which our learners will know and understand. And there are four aspects: physical science, which is based on chemistry and physics concepts. Then we have earth and space, life sciences, and engineering practices. The second dimension has to do with cross-cutting concepts. How are we going to relate these concepts? We must know cause and effects. We must know structures and models, structures and functions, and stability and change of our environment and things like those. And the final dimension of the next generation science standards has to do with engineering practices. How scientists behave, how they perform, how will our students learn the world around them, how they're going to make connections. And so they're going to use those knowledge and understanding to come up with innovations and solutions to solve problems. So those are the three dimensions which make up our science standards. Now, the enhanced science curriculum is different in ways such as it's more inclusive, It's more integrated with a lot of subjects, especially language. We would have deliberately integrated language in our teaching and learning strategies, as well as our assessment strategies. It is hands-on, as usual, however, more hands-on than the old curriculum. The enhanced curriculum is also evidence-based because most of our general objectives, or which we call essential learning outcomes, begin with providing evidence. And so those are the major changes, along with some concepts and what we would have done, let's say in grade 5 might be done now in grade 3, but in a way that is developmentally appropriate for our learners. Good. So how will our learners have equitable access? The most important aspect there is context. Learning in context is very important. Let's say we're dealing with a topic in relation to pollution, and we're talking about vehicles, cars, and buses and trucks. We can deal with those communities that children will see that, and we can talk about how they contribute to pollution. However, in another area of Guyana, where there might be boats and other engines, then the teachers can make reference to those before they get into other examples. So context is very important because it makes learning more meaningful and long-lasting. And equitable access also involves them having hands-on, minds-on activity. It doesn't matter your culture, your background. Once you have quality science education that is hands-on, minds-on, contextual, evidence-based, interesting, exciting, integrated, and inclusive, then all will be catered for. And our objectives are actually separated in terms of knowledge, skills, and values. What knowledge we want them to have, what skills we want them to develop, and what values we want them to embrace as they become productive citizens due to a quality and equitable science education. Now, as we have hands-on, minds-on activities to have knowledge, as they're performing the task, they're going through processes, which we call science process skills. Comparing, contrasting, communicating, providing solutions to problems, suggestions. You find that they're going to develop critical thinking skills. And while working together in a group to do activities or to explore, they're going to develop some of those values, working together, helping those who might need help, as well as having an awareness and appreciation for the environment or society through science. Yes, some of the methods and strategies promoted in our new science curriculum or enhanced science curriculum, they're not necessarily new. However, we're promoting them more and making them purposeful, making them meaningful and attractive for teachers to use. Some of those strategies would include the field trips, experiments, explorations. We also have the constructivist approach, which is the 5 E's. That's heavily promoted. In fact, those are the major ones that we promote. Some recommendations for our teachers in relation to the implementation of the enhanced science curriculum is paying attention to the useful content. that was not written for teachers to use for the children, but it's for them to have additional knowledge and support so that they can deal with children who might be above the grade level, or just provide additional information for them. However, the knowledge constructed for the concept is done by the students themselves as they go through the processes to develop knowledge and skills. All right? It is very important that teachers read the curriculum carefully, know what is expected of them, use the suggested strategies there, especially some of the resources like the videos or pictures that might be selected. Careful thought and considerations would have been placed there because we want to ensure correct concepts be transmitted. Recommendations for parents is actually to support teachers, because in science we promote a lot of hands-on. So when resources are needed, try and support as much as possible so that your children can have first-hand experience of to understand the concept. All right, whatever support you can give the teachers, they need it. We want to have our students receive the knowledge and skills that will help them to solve problems of this century. When our enhanced science curriculum is effectively implemented, learners gain the necessary knowledge, skills, and values. You're actually promoting lifelong learning. They're going to contribute to society positively. They're going to make decisions that are sound, and they're going to actually solve problems that are sustainable and reliable. So let's promote science, because science is the foundation for STEAM.